Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're seeing my face for the very first time, my name is Obehi. I'm a registered social worker, passionate about helping new and aspiring social workers to thrive and succeed in their profession. Today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the most important skills that we need in our profession, and that is being able to write clear and concise reports and case notes. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into the ways that we can write it to be able to share our information clearly and concisely. As a new social worker, it can be very complicated and confusing on how to write your case note in a clear and concise manner that is ethically compliant. What I mean by that is that it follows the ethics of your profession. So I'm going to be doing a deep dive into how best to write your case notes to make them clear and concise, and I'll be sharing with you my own tips and tricks on how I write effective case notes. Whether you're still in school doing your practicum or you're already a practicing social worker and you feel like you are not confident enough when you write your case reports, stick around. This video would help you get a clearer understanding of how to write a more concise case note. Using a consistent format ensures that your notes are organized and clear. A commonly used model is called SOAP. It simply means subjective, objective, assessment, and your plan. So subjective, here you are writing what client or other people that you spoke with during the visit or during your encounter talked about. So for example, a client told you that her husband was rude to her, or a child told you that the mom hit the child. So that is subjective. That is what you have been told by your client. Objective now is the things that you noticed when you were there. So the things that you saw, the facts that you saw when you attended that visit. Was the house clean? Was mom nice to the child? Were there any confrontations? If it's in the hospital setting, was the patient okay? Was the patient receiving treatment? Is the patient accepting the treatments that were given? So this is your own report, what you observed when you went to carry out that visit or your encounter with the client. Assessment is your analyzation of what you saw when you had that visit, compiling what you were told and what you saw by yourself, using that to analyze the situation to come up with a plan. And then the plan is what you want to do going forward to help that family or help that situation. So I hope that was kind of clear. It's just SOAP. So the subjective, that's what you were told. Objective, that's what you saw yourself. Assessment, that is a compilation of the objective and the subjective information, trying to use it to analyze the situation of things. And P is the plan, coming up with your own plan of what you're going to do following that visitation. So the first thing in writing a case note is for you to have a format. Now, the second thing about writing your case note is to be objective and factual. Now, when you're writing a case note, do not sound like you are making assumptions. Make sure that you are writing exactly what you have seen, what you have observed. Do not come up with your own ideas. Do not come up with your own, like you're assuming what happened. Make sure you write it as you have seen it. For example, you enter into a house, the house might look dirty to you, but in the family's mind, that is their own way of living. It might not be dirty to them. So your idea of something being dirty might be different from the idea of your clients, of how your clients see something as being dirty. So be objective. When you want to write a case note about a house being dirty, state the fact. There were trash on the floor, there were piles of clothes in the laundry basket, there were piles of plates in the kitchen, there were cobwebs on the wall, things like that. Do not just say the house was dirty. That is you being very objective when you're writing case notes. The number 3 point about writing a case note is keep it concise and comprehensive. Make sure that you are writing it in a way that anybody who picks up that note is able to read it. Don't make it overwhelming. keep away from writing it too long or too lengthy. If you are able to even put it in like paragraphs or bullet points, make it as clear as possible so that anybody who picks it will be able to understand what they need to do or what they need to know about that family that they are going to support. The fourth key important thing to do when writing your case note is to remember to document timely. I know with our works, most of us have very high caseloads and we find it very difficult to do our documentations as early as possible. Some organizations will tell you that you should make sure you have your documentations done 72 hours after a visitation. I will say do it as fast as possible. The way I personally do it is when I get to work, the first 1 hour I use in doing my documentations for the previous day, and the last 1 hour I also try to do my documentations for that day. So I try to document as soon as possible. That way information is clear, and in case I'm unable to make work the next day, people can see what has happened the previous day and take it on from there. Documenting in a timely fashion basically helps you in documenting accurately so you don't forget the key details of your visitation or your encounter with your client. The fifth important point when writing your case note is for you to highlight the progress and challenges. Some people like to write it as what's working and what's not working, or what's working well and what's not working well. That way, when someone picks up the file or the case note, they understand exactly what the family needs or what the family's strengths are. It's very explanatory that way. So if you want to, you can write what's working well, write the things that are working well for that family in bullet points. For example, oh, this family has a strong family support, this family is able to do things by themselves independently, and what's not working well, or sometimes mom is sick and when she's sick she's unable to carry on with house chores, things like that. That helps whoever is going to cover for you when you are not there understand what the family dynamics are, what their strengths are, and how best to support them in your absence. One important thing, which is the sixth point I want to put across when you're writing case notes, never include unnecessary information. Make sure you don't use your own personal opinions. Maintain confidentiality and privacy at all times to safeguard your clients. Now, one thing I want you to know is that you need to make sure that you are following your agency's legal policy and guidelines for documentation. That's one of the things you need to make sure you are aware of when you join an agency. Figure out what their policy and their guidelines are for documentation. If there are older colleagues that are there, you can talk to them about giving you a template on how they write theirs so you can take your first note of their examples. Another point is you have to make sure that your notes are clear and free from jargons. You don't have to use ambiguous words. Sometimes as new social workers, we think that it is the kind of language that will put to make us look more professional. No, it is not needed. You need to just make sure to write your notes as clearly as possible and free of ambiguous words or unnecessary jargons or even slangs. The last thing you need to know is that when you're writing a case note, make sure to write your next steps for the family. If there are any things that you plan on doing or that you are working on or that you need to do, write them as your next steps in the bottom of your case note. This gives someone who is going to work on that file when you are not there an understanding of what has happened and what they need to do next. For example, if you see a family and you have provided everything and the last thing that you need to do is just to maybe move the child in the next 2 weeks, write it in the case note that this child needs to be moved in the next 2 weeks so that whoever picks up the file knows exactly what needs to be done and be able to carry on from there. That is how to do proper documentation. I know with most agencies, speaking from my experience, most agencies have a software that they use for documentation, so it gives its own timestamp on when that information was written or documented. But if that is not the case in your organization and you still have to write your documentations by hand, that's write it on a paper, make sure you sign and date everything that you've written so that you know that that is your information and nobody is adding to it. So sign at the end of it. Make sure that there's no way anybody can write underneath what you have written. Now, I'll be giving you one bonus tip, and that bonus tip is always check for errors. Sometimes you're typing very fast and you might have made some mistakes. So it's good to just take a few minutes to read make sure that everything has been written correctly and concisely before you save or before you finally keep your notes. I hope this video was able to help you in one way or the other. Thank you guys for always supporting me. Thank you for your comments, your likes. Thank you for your subscription. And if you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? I'm using blood and sweat to film these videos for you guys, so please make sure to subscribe. Anyway guys, to the person who made this recommendation for this video, I don't know if you want me to say your name out here, but I just want to say thank you. You're a very loyal subscriber. I appreciate your support. And for every other person who always leaves me a message, those who check up on me, I appreciate you guys. Guys, you're on the road to 3,000. We can make this happen. Please subscribe, share this video with your friends and families, and congratulations to everybody who has gotten their CISW accreditation done. And to those who are having difficulties, I am still making research on how best we can, pass through that hurdle. But for right now, I want to tell you that there's light at the end of the tunnel. If the accreditation isn't working, you might just have to email CISW and see if there's something they need you to do in order for you to get accredited. Well, that's a talk for another video, but I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you guys for all your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for stopping by again today. And until we see you again in my next video, have a nice day, guys. Have a nice day, Dad.